A woman sits on the wooden railing of a luxury lodge in Zanzibar, holding a woven basket while feeding a giraffe that stretches its long neck toward her. She's dressed in a stylish white top and patterned shorts. The caption reads, Chapter 31, and I'm exactly where I need to be. Below her on the wooden floor is a romantic arrangement made from red and white flower petals spelling out love, with a decorative towel folded into the shape of a swan nearby. In another video posted just hours later, the love of her life drops to one knee. She says yes. The comments flood in. Congratulations, you deserve this, living the dream. But no one expected what followed. 48 hours after that proposal, Ashlee Jenae was found dead inside her resort villa. Her fiancé says she took her own life. Her family says that's impossible. And the police? They confiscated his passport, questioned him for weeks, but never charged him with a crime. This is Zone Garage. Tonight, we're breaking down every timeline inconsistency and every question that authorities in Tanzania still haven't answered about what really happened inside Villa 25 at the Zuri Zanzibar resort. Instagram influencer Ashlee Jenae traveled to Zanzibar with her fiancé Joe McCann in April 2026. Just 48 hours after he got down on one knee, she was found deceased inside their resort villa under circumstances so troubling that her family is still fighting for the truth today. Authorities pushed one narrative, her family rejected it completely. And the man who proposed to her, he had his passport seized for weeks while investigators treated him as both a witness and a suspect. Tonight, we're diving deep into every known detail, every unanswered question, and every piece of evidence that doesn't quite add up in the case of Ashlee Jenae. Because what happened in Villa 25 at the Zuri Zanzibar resort wasn't just a tragedy, it was a mystery that refuses to be closed. Before we get into what happened in Zanzibar, we need to understand who Ashlee Jenae really was. Her real name was Ashlee Robinson, but to her thousands of followers online, she was simply Ashlee Jenae, a vibrant influencer who shared her life, her travels, and her dreams with the world. Those who knew her personally described her as full of life, ambitious, and deeply loved by her family. In early April 2026, Ashlee packed her bags for what should have been one of the most unforgettable trips of her life. She was heading to Zanzibar, Tanzania with her boyfriend of 1 year, Joe McCann. The plan, celebrate her birthday in paradise, soak in the beauty of one of Africa's most stunning islands, and create memories that would last forever. And for a brief moment, it seemed like everything was perfect. Joe proposed, she said yes. The photos were picture perfect. The kind of engagement you see on Instagram and think, that's the dream. But within 48 hours, Ashlee Jenae was gone. And what followed wasn't closure. It was chaos, confusion, and a family demanding answers that still haven't come.
History, anger, sadness. It's like a part of me has just been taken away.
Now let's talk about the man at the center of this story, Joe McCann. If you're not familiar with crypto or fintech circles, his name might not ring a bell, but in those communities, Joe McCann was a recognized figure. He's the founder and CEO of Asymmetric Financial, a crypto investment firm that attracted backing from some serious names in Silicon Valley, including Mark Andreessen and Chris Dixon. On paper, Joe looked like a success story, sharp, connected, ambitious, the kind of entrepreneur who moves fast and thinks bigger. But 2025 wasn't kind to him. Public reports began surfacing that painted a very different picture. His company's liquid fund was reportedly down nearly 80%. One investor was allegedly sitting on roughly a $10 million loss. Around the same time, McCann was linked to a treasury company that reportedly wanted to raise up to $1.5 billion. That deal, it fell through. So by the time Joe and Ashlee boarded that flight to Zanzibar, he wasn't just dealing with wedding plans and romantic getaways. He was facing serious financial pressure, public scrutiny, and the kind of stress that can break even the strongest people. Does that mean he did something terrible? No, but it does mean context matters. Because when someone passes away under suspicious circumstances, investigators don't just look at what happened in the room. They look at what was happening in that person's life, the pressures, the cracks, the things that don't show up in Instagram posts. And Joe McCann had cracks. He'd also been married before. In 2018, he married a woman named Shay Jackson. They had 2 children together. By 2021, they were divorced. LinkedIn listings identify Shay Jackson as a senior marketing executive, currently listed as global marketing director at Nike Skims. But beyond the professional resume, almost nothing else is publicly known about that marriage or why it ended. Was there conflict, abuse, irreconcilable differences? We simply don't know. And that absence of information has fueled speculation online, with people wondering if there were warning signs that went unnoticed. One social media post that circulated widely showed a photo of Joe with a particular expression on his face. The caption asked, "Does his face in this pic give you any clue that he was up to something?" The comments were mixed. Some people read into it, others called it absurd. And honestly, trying to decode someone's intentions from a single photograph is almost always a reach. Picture poses don't determine agendas. But it does show you how desperate people are for answers when the official story doesn't add up. So here's what we know about the trip itself. Ashlee and Joe arrived at the Zuri Zanzibar, a luxury resort known for its pristine beaches, high-end villas, and 5-star service. It's the kind of place people go to escape, to celebrate, to disconnect from the world and just be. For Ashlee, this was supposed to be a birthday trip and a celebration of love. Joe proposed just 2 days after they arrived. She said yes, the photos looked flawless. Everything seemed perfect, but beneath the surface, something was already wrong. According to Ashlee's mother, on April 8th, Ashlee called her and said that she and Joe had argued. It wasn't just a small disagreement, it was serious enough that hotel staff got involved and physically separated them into different rooms. Think about that for a second. You're at a luxury resort. You just got engaged 2 days ago. And now the staff is moving you into separate accommodations because the conflict between you and your fiancé has escalated to a point where intervention is necessary. That's not normal. Ashlee's mother says that Joe called the family the next day, but what he said during that call has become one of the most controversial pieces of this entire timeline. According to the family, Joe claimed that Ashlee had done something to herself. But here's the part that makes no sense. He also reportedly told them that the incident had happened 11 hours earlier. 11 hours. Why would someone wait 11 hours before notifying the family of a loved one in crisis? What happened during those 11 hours? And why, according to some reports, did Joe initially describe Ashlee as stable and okay during that first call, only for the family to later learn from the hotel directly that she had already passed? Those contradictions aren't small details, they're massive red flags. According to North Unguja Regional Police Commander Benedict Mapujira, here's the official version of events. Ashlee and Joe had a falling out at the resort. Hotel staff intervened and separated them into different rooms. Later, Ashlee was found unresponsive in her villa. Authorities quickly began floating the idea that she unalived herself. They described it as self-inflicts, case closed, but Ashlee's family immediately pushed back, hard. They said nothing had been clearly confirmed. They demanded surveillance footage from the resort. They wanted transparency from both Tanzanian and US officials, and they made it clear that they did not believe the narrative being sold to them. Her parents even traveled to Washington, D.C., seeking help from the US Embassy. They were prepared to fly to Zanzibar themselves if that's what it took to get answers. Because here's the thing, when your daughter calls you in distress, and then 24 hours later she's gone, and the only explanation you're getting is a vague police statement and a phone call from her fiancé, that doesn't make sense. You don't just accept it, you fight, and that's exactly what they did. Meanwhile, Joe McCann was not arrested, but he wasn't free to leave either. Tanzanian authorities confiscated his passport and continued questioning him as part of the investigation. Officially, he was treated as a witness, but witnesses don't usually have their passports seized. So what was he really? A witness? A suspect? Someone in between? The police seemed unsure themselves. Let's break down the timeline because this is where everything starts to unravel. According to multiple reports from Zanzibar police, hotel staff moved Joe to a separate villa located roughly an 8 to 10 minute walk away from Ashlee's room after guests in room 24 reportedly heard a serious altercation. But here's the critical question. Did anyone actually monitor Joe after that separation? Was there security posted outside his door? Did anyone verify that he stayed in room 65 through the night? Or was he simply escorted there and left alone? Because if he wasn't monitored, that leaves a massive gap in the timeline, a gap big enough to drive a truck through. Now, according to hospital documents cited by multiple outlets, Joe reportedly told authorities that he found Ashlee unresponsive, but that immediately raises another question. If the resort separated the couple specifically because of the severity of the dispute, why was Joe later allowed back into Villa 25? And who exactly accompanied him? Ashlee's father later stated publicly that Joe returned to the room with security, but no publicly released security statement or surveillance footage has yet confirmed the exact sequence of events. Who gave Joe permission to return? Was it hotel staff? Police? Did he go on his own? And if security was with him, what did they see? These aren't minor details. These are foundational questions that should have been answered on day one.
Hi everyone, I just want to quickly provide an update on where we are exactly in the death of influencer Ashlee Robinson, because this week I was able to get back in contact with her family, and also over the weekend her fiance Joe McCann's attorney sent me a statement for the first time, and I actually want to start by reading what that says. It reads, Joe is relieved to be home where he can finally grieve for Ashlee, the love of his life. We also wish to express our deepest gratitude to the authorities in Zanzibar and the dedicated men and women in the State Department for their professionalism during this ordeal. We'll have more to say at an appropriate time in the very near future. Now that last statement is what stands out to me most, because that tells us that this is not the last that we are going to hear from Joe McCann. I also responded to his attorney for more clarity on what he is expected to say, and I did not receive a response. I also requested a one-on-one interview with Joe. I have been asking for this ever since Ashlee's death, and obviously that request has not been met, but it does sound like we are going to soon hear more from Joe McCann. It also seems like, based on my last quick conversation I had with Ashlee's family, is that we should be hearing again from her family. I'm not sure exactly what they have planned, but the family says right now they're just trying to gather information. Now that information could be police records from Zanzibar. Again, the last time I spoke with you, they did not share the results of the autopsy that was done in Zanzibar, or the results of the autopsy they say that was independently completed here in the United States. So possibly that could be the information that they are gathering to share, because that has not been yet released to the public. But it does sound like we are going to hear from Joe McCann and also the family soon again. Now, also just to catch you up on speed, Joe McCann, he also wrote a personal statement on X. Here is that. You can pause to read the entire statement. Additionally, we know that Ashlee was laid to rest in New Jersey last week. I also have just been trying to give her family some space to grieve and also figure out what their next steps are. Right now, the investigation, we don't know where that stands in terms of officials in Zanzibar, but hopefully we'll get some more insight as soon as we hear from Joe McCann directly and also from Ashlee's family.